All rivers are important to me. This one is very important to me because I live on it.
Every drop of water that falls somewhere on land flows down into the river. And there's a story, and it's cyclical. And everybody has impact, and therefore we have responsibility. There's a Wabanaki prophecy that says that the new dawn it'll happen in the Dawnland. Wabanaki territory is the Dawnland.
What I think changed minds of people along the Sheepscot was the understanding that we really do have a national treasure here.
It's a small coastal river, but it's incredibly biodiverse. We have all 12 sea-run fish species in the river, which is rare.
We think immediately of Atlantic salmon. They're the king predator fish.
Rainbow smelt, sea-run brook trout, Atlantic sturgeon,
tomcod, short-nosed sturgeon. Okay, wait, let me try again.
Certainly the one we've been, so far at least, the most successful has been river herring, both bluebacks and alewives. But shad would have come up this river in massive numbers. Stripers are coming up now in pretty good numbers and picking off the young alewives.
The elvers are in this river. They have come back from the Sargasso Sea, and they will then go back.
And when we get more lampreys up this river, who spawn and then their bodies decompose and all of those nutrients go filtering down through the column, and the crayfish are there picking them off. And the bass are eating the crayfish, and the mink are eating the crayfish, and the otters are eating the crayfish. You know, it's all linked.
When mussels are larvae, when they're in their early life stage, they actually hook on to the gills of fish. And so they take a ride, and that's how they're able to disperse themselves.
If you think of a river like an artery, the fish are a lot like blood cells that carry the nutrients up and down the river.
So we are connected to everything. They're connected to each other as species. We are connected to the river as humans.
And I remember really clearly once standing on a bridge looking for my first alewife run. And I looked down in the water and there was nothing going on. You know, it was just black. And then all of a sudden one of the fish rolled. And I realized that what I was looking at was fish, bank to bank, top to bottom. That's what we're supposed to see.
People's first interest in the river was thinking of it as a source of food, secondly as a source of power, to run their grist mills and their fulling mills and their sawmills. It wasn't for 100 years or more that they realized that they were preventing a lot of fish from getting where they needed to go in order to have more fish.
My grandparents, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, they had not seen in their lifetime what this river was capable of.
There are a lot of towns like Whitefield that have old dams like this that were built a couple hundred years ago, and a lot of them are degrading.
The dam was leaking severely, and this time of year, with the low flow out of the river, our hydrant was out of water.
The town really didn't want to spend a lot of money fixing up the dam, and so it's like, so where do we go from there?
The partners really hosted a variety of meetings with the town, the community, with the select board, with the fire department, and we held these meetings monthly for a couple of years to really start from the bottom up. And we went in with no preconceived notion. We had the goal of reestablishing connectivity and creating fish passage, working through that process together to arrive at the solution that we all felt confident in was really the critical piece to making this project successful. Because Cooper's Mills Dam was a sought-after dam removal project for decades. I think timing was important, but also that the fact that we did start from the bottom and worked our way up.
There's a lot of questions, a lot of answers, and we finally put it all together and went to the townspeople and said, this is the best we're going to have, I think. Right. You know, the alternative was to let the dam fall down, then we'd have nothing. We would have nothing. We would have a dry riverbed, or a riverbed like we see right now that had no way of getting water out of it.
Before the dam came out, Cooper's Mills always had a dry hydrant intake in the impoundment. So we designed in 2 pools to make sure they'd always have one here.
And that was the bottom line for the town. And leaving parts of the dam on the overlook so that there was that connection to the past and it wasn't just completely taken away.
Right, there was a lot of thought in that. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that were developing this site took that all into consideration. They worked with that historical society
Yeah.
too.
And they listened to the people in the village.
Yep.
For many years, this dam was really seen as a nuisance and it was extremely unsafe. And by improving the site and removing the unsafe assets, we were able to turn that on its head and able to allow people to now access the river.
We actually had a lot of fun over the last year of being on the edges of this massive construction project at the Head Tide Dam, because it didn't take out the whole dam as at the Cooper's Mills. It modified an existing dam. I used to walk down to the bottom of the hill here and look down into a pool where all the alewives had come all the way up from the ocean, ready to get all the way up to spawning ground, and they were just masked there because they couldn't go any further, because the water coming through the little holes in the dam was just too strong for them.
You know, there was no question there was lots of tension about the change that we were advocating for. And yet when we finally compromised and found a solution that'll allow fish to go upriver at least 90% of the days when they want to move.
They're going to run through there. I can't wait to see it. It's the most exciting thing. You're going to be able to stand on a platform and look down and watch them. Hopefully we'll see shad go through.
But that's actually why the grate that is at head tide is open like that, is to convince the shad that it's just branches up above and they won't be nervous about passing under there, because they have been notoriously nervous about concrete and so forth.
In the spring every year, I call it the Kevlar hatch. It's when all the kayaks and the canoes are high enough water to come down from Kings Mills and come through right to head tide. This year, they'll be able to go right on through. And so there's another migration that might be happening, some people. And part of this reconstruction project also provided a safe place for them to pull out, because it used to be a little dicey at times. Not only that, but there's a swimming hole here, which is the other reason I'm glad the dam stayed, because it scoured out a deep swimming hole that's been part of people that I know whose grandfathers lived here, who used to swim in that swimming hole. So we have preserved that for the kids, and for the adults too, for that matter.
My grandchildren have always swum in the river. A couple of them learned to swim there, in fact. They swim with a snapping turtle that's about 1.5 feet long. And every once in a while we see her. In fact, one year she came out of the river and up to my garden and laid her eggs in my beet row.
Those kinds of things, I think, anchor us. You know, they give our lives meaning, they give us context.
The river belongs to us all, and we all should be able to not only use it, but then if we do use it, we then learn to respect it.
We completed the project just 2 years ago, but the ecosystem is responding so strongly, and I could see it days after we breached the dam when we were able to remove the dam completely. I was able to watch juvenile alewife that had spawned in ponds upstream move down with ease. Within a year after removing the dam, we saw more Atlantic salmon reds above this area than we had ever seen before.
I think this restoration project is the kind of thing that can give young people hope, because you see, if you give nature a chance, she can come back in such a strong way.
It took a lot of people. It took a lot of imagination. It took a lot of effort, a lot of belief. There were many times that people were ready to give up. It took money. It will always take money. It'll always take people who care. And I think it's a work of a lifetime to be proud of.